Hare Krishna. So we begin our study of Bhagavatam. And I thank you very much for coming for studying together. Last time we had studied how Ashwatthama behaved most erratically, and his one mistake after another mistake after another mistake was not only costing him a lot, it was also costing others a lot. And in order to counter check all his mischievous dealings, Arjuna took some vows. And now, when he set out for capturing Ashwatthama and setting him right, as a last resort, Ashwatthama utilized Brahmastra. And last time we discussed when the glare was seen by Arjuna, he turned towards his Google, Lord Krishna, and he asked him, "What is this?" And Lord Krishna immediately told him clearly the answers. What is that? So here are the verses by Lord. In this verse, Lord is stating, Vethedam Dronaputrasya Brahmam Astram Pradarshitam. This astra is produced by Dronaputra. Naivasau Veda Samharam. Although he does not know how to retract it. Pranabadha upasthita. But he has simply utilized this, seeing that his life is in danger. So, in this world also we can see, जब जीवन पर बीतती है, so all species of life display unusually amazing characteristics to safeguard themselves from imminent death. It's a very natural instinct in all living beings. You have heard of this eel fish in your biology? Eel fish gives a shock, I don't know how many volts, maybe 10,000 volts. Small fish, but has the ability that if an alligator comes next to it, he gets a shock. Something like 1,000-volt shock. And that alligator doesn't know what happened, but he runs away from this fish. Similarly, we have seen what they call chameleon, change its colors most amazingly. I have seen actually. We had gone to Ahovalam, we saw one at that time. He was an old chameleon and having no shelter, and he was so slow in his movement. So when we went near him, he took the same colors of the steps that we were climbing on. And when we went away from him, he became green. From brown to green. So, this Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya and Maithuna. So when this Bhaya is triggered, the survival mode, a person can do most craziest things in this world. That is why Vedic culture is so organized that people can meet their requirements of eating, sleeping, mating, defending without having to become uncultured, insensitive towards other living beings, and especially destructive. And Ashwatthama, because he couldn't maintain that type of a stature of a Vedic culture follower, he is treated, eventually you will see, by the term animal. Not only Arjuna, Bhagavatam, they consider him an animal. And this is why all of us should try and work on increasing our threshold level of survival instinct. You know what is threshold level of survival instinct? All of us have a limit till which we can tolerate things, especially when it comes to life-threatening situations. So we tolerate. That threshold, when it reaches, we just come out with our ugly colors at that time. So what is it that helps us to increase our threshold level of survival instinct? And that is spiritual culture. The more sincerely a person practices a spiritual culture, he has great tolerance to provoking situations. And we have the classic example of Prahlad Maharaj. He was also provoked for his life in so many ways, but not even once did he behave uncultured way. Not even once was he insensitive towards those who were tormenting him. Not even once was he destructive, towards others. So that is the beauty of spiritual culture. So, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport a lot about what is Brahmastra. He says that to make an atomic bomb, modern scientists are spending so much of energy and intelligence. And even then, they are threatened. What if their nuclear reactors fail? Because once you start a nuclear chain reaction, to retrieve or to keep it controlled, you need another set of mechanism. And if you fail to do that, you can cause destruction of whole civilization around. And that's why big brains are involved, and such huge machinery, such huge structure or intelligence is needed to keep that whole thing in control. Prabhupada says that was all done by mantras in Vedic times. So you can imagine the caliber of the personalities, what level of intelligence, what level of sophistication they must be employing, that through simply employing sound energy, they could manifest other forms of energies. Nuclear energy, water, hydraulic energy, pneumatic energy, They could manifest hurricanes, tornadoes, typhoons, I don't know whether volcanoes, like that. They could even manifest sleep in the opposing army. Jrumbhan Astra. You employ that astra, the opposite army starts yawning. Something like that happens in our Bhagavatam classes also. As soon as you start Bhagavad Katha, like a Jrumbhan Astra sometimes. Especially unqualified speakers speak. So that becomes the trigger. Anyway, so the point I'm making is, there are such varieties of weapons, such varieties of utility of material energy, employed through only one energy. Which one? Sound. No other energy. Can you imagine? That's called Mantra Shakti. And this is why Brahmastra, which is far more severe than a nuclear weapon, was invoked by chanting hymns. So, Prabhupada says in the purport, the difference is that atomic bomb is a gross type of nuclear weapon, whereas the Brahmastra is a subtle type of weapon produced by chanting hymns. It is a different science. And in the days gone by, such science was cultivated in the land of Bharatavarsha. The subtle science of chanting hymns is also material. This is also material science. It's not yet spiritual. But it has yet to be known by the modern material scientists. Subtle material science is not spiritual, but it has a direct relationship with the spiritual method, which is still subtler. A chanter of hymns knew how to apply the weapon as well as how to retract it. That was perfect knowledge. But the son of Dronacharya, who made use of it, did not know how to retract. He applied it, being afraid of death, but the practice was not only improper, but also irreligious. As the son of a Brahmana, he should not have made so many mistakes. and for such gross negligence of duty, he was punished by the Lord himself. So, those of us who have got Brahman initiation have a clue here, and those who are aspiring to get Brahman initiation, what kind of maturity is demanded of Brahmanas, and impropriety or negligence in doing their duties will evoke Lord's anger upon them, because they are given so much in their life. So recently there was that Science Congress. What was that?
All India Science Congress.
All India Science Congress. One of our devotees had also gone there. So there were some, I don't know whether to call them over enthusiastic, but they were sincere Indian scientists trying to present from Vedic paradigm the varieties of airplanes, nuclear energy, and other forms of scientific inventions that were prevalent in Vedic India, by giving reference that this is all given in the Vedas, and this gives us a clue in which direction can we go so that we can make further progress in science. But the whole thing was turned around by some people to say that these people are speaking most unscientifically because they are not giving any evidences for what they speak. Their only evidence is Shabda Praman. Ved mein aisa bola hai. But we treat Veda as mythology. You don't bring that into picture. So that became a big debate. And the scientists on this side, they were saying, well, we are not claiming that we are saying right now what we have. But we are actually indicating that if you go in this direction, we can have what has been described there, including embryology, nuclear science, and so many subtler aspects. So all this goes on in our Bharatavarsha for want of education. Because in our educational system, we have lost our originality, and we have become so dependent on even thought process that we borrow from others. When we have to think of social, financial, scientific, or any branch of human endeavor, we have borrowed everything. We are even taught how to think like an Oxford or a Cambridge guy, and that is considered Pratyaksha Pramanvadi. And we consider that as the height of all scientific presentation. So here is some science being spoken of. We have gone away from it and also lost it in the course of making progress in our modernism. But it is possible even now to revive it, provided we get dedicated to the Vedic culture. Vedas are persons. They are not just some text and some book. If you please the Vedas by practicing the culture that they tell you to practice, Vedas in their personified form can reveal to you whatever is needed for making progress, spiritually as well as materially. And that is why in all the forms of branches of arts or sciences, great emphasis is given on following the particular methodology of that science. And you have to master it that way. उस कला की देवता आपके ऊपर प्रसन्न होनी चाहिए. उसके बाद, like we say, na, Saraswati becomes pleased with Keshav Kashmiri, and then she grants him a blessing that nobody will defeat you. Whenever you debate, I will sit on your tongue and finish up everybody around. So that's the power of Vedic culture. It's not just one form of mundane education. It's actually a reciprocation between people, personalities. So, all of us should choose a particular branch or a particular field of human endeavor that we are good at, and through the basis, the foundation of Vedic knowledge, delve deeply into that side, to ourselves become expert and also offer some quality service. So each of us can choose. Somebody can choose music, somebody can choose Vedic cooking, somebody can choose painting, architecture. I think some of you may choose warhead making for India. And in this way we can all grow in that direction. Text 28. Nahyasyanantamam kinchit astram pratyavakarsanam jayhastrateja unnadham astradnyo yastratejasa. Translation.
Oh Arjuna, only another Brahmastra can counteract this weapon. Since you are expert in the military science, subdue these weapons there with the power of your own weapon.
Prabhupada says the funny thing about our scientists, for atomic bombs there are no counter weapons to neutralize the effects. But the subtle science of Brahmastra was so powerful that you could counteract one Brahmastra with another Brahmastra. That is science. Not that you just go in one direction, destruction. That anybody can do. But you must also know how to stop destruction by employing another weapon. Suta uvacha Shrutva Bhagavata Proktam Phalguna Paraviraha Sprushvapastam Parikramya Brahmam Brahmastram Sandadhe. Translation.
Srila Sutta Goswami said, hearing this from the personality of Godhead, Arjuna touched water for purification, and after circumambulating Lord Sri Krishna, he cast his Brahmastra weapon to counteract the other one.
See how obedient Arjuna is. And how quick yet very prayerful he is in his action. Shrutva Bhagavata Proktam. As soon as he heard what Krishna said, Phalgunaha is another name of Arjuna. Paraviraha. Paraviraha means जो दूसरे के वीर्यता को हरण कर लेता है, उसको डिस्ट्रॉय कर देता है. It is called Paraviraha. Spruštva apaha, by touching the water of purification. It seems that they carry Achman everywhere. What are they doing exactly? In the warfield, from your military tank, you take out a Achman cup, sit there and do Spruštva apaha. And then Parikramya Brahmam. Arjuna circumambulated Krishna. Even there in the battlefield. Can you imagine? Brahmastra has already been shot, it is going to destroy and devour everything. And Arjuna is still quick, yet prayerful in his response. Brahmastram Sandadhe. Sandadhe means he took aim or acted upon, counteracting the earlier Brahmastra. Samhatyanyonyamubhayoho Tejasi Sharasamrute Avrutya Rodasi Khamcha Vavruddhate Arkavahnivat. Translation.
When the rays of the Brahmastra combine, a great circle of fire like the disk of the sun covered all outer space and the whole firmament of planets and the whole firmament of planets.
So how does it look like? Brahmastra? Like the disk of the sun globe. It's as if like another sun has appeared in the sky. that level of power is exhibited. Prabhupada writes in the middle of the purport, the atomic bomb explosion can at most blew up one globe. क्या कर सकता है इनके atomic weapons? Max. They can blow up Earth. But the heat produced by Brahmastra can destroy the whole universe. Cosmic situation. The comparison is therefore made to the heat at the time of annihilation. दृष्ट्वा स्मृतेजस्तुतयोः त्रिलोकान् प्रदहन्मतः महत् दह्यमाना प्रजा सर्वा सांवर्तकममं सता. All the populations on the different planets began to feel the heat excessively and compared it to that of Samvartaka fire. And then Prabhupada adds his own Marathi tala Pausher म्हणतात. No planet therefore is without living beings, as less intelligent materialistic men think. What does that go to show? Population is not only there on Earth, but it is everywhere in various other planets. Prajopatravamalaksha Lokavyatikaram chatam Matam cha Vasudevasya Sanjahara Arjunodvayam. Translation.
Thus, seeing the disturbance of the general populace and the imminent destruction of the planets, Arjuna at once retracted both Brahmastra weapons as lordship.
The theory that modern atomic bomb explosions can annihilate the world is childish imagination. First of all, the atomic energy is not powerful enough to destroy the world. And secondly, ultimately it all rests on the supreme will of the Supreme Lord. Without His will or sanction, nothing can be built up and nothing can be destroyed. Also, it is foolish also to think that natural laws are ultimately powerful. Material nature's law works under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Maya Dhakshena Prakruti. The Lord says there are natural laws. The Lord says there that the natural laws work under His supervision. The world can be destroyed only by the will of the Lord, not by the whims of tiny politicians. And just like Krishna desired that weapons be released by both Drauni and Arjuna be withdrawn, and it was carried out by Arjuna. Similarly, there are many agents of the all-powerful Lord, and by His will only can one execute what he desires. So this puts us to at rest, right? Sometimes we get too tensed with the way the world is going on and how things will go on in future. And abhi dekho kya halat ho raha hai. And, tomorrow if there is a nuclear war, what will happen to me and my family and whatever, our temple. Prabhupada says chill. Nothing can be built up, nor can anything be destroyed without the permission of the Supreme Lord. Mare Krishna Rakhe ke, Rakhe Krishna Mare ke. And by that faith that devotee has, he doesn't get overly anxious. I remember when there was that 2012, what was that? The end of the world or something. Being projected by even scientists. It's not just by some. 2012, 2012. It was hyped up so much. And in Deepavali, sometimes you buy that big bomb and you put a fire to it and you go, and then nothing happens. I do feel so frustrated. So like that, nothing happened, literally speaking, in 2012. Not even one event that indicates that the world will be ending. And it was such a fiasco at the end. So this is how our predictions happen. कहीं से आके कुछ टकराने वाला है, meteor on earth, and this is going to happen, that is going to happen, there is going to be earthquake, and there are beautiful movies brought forth, by the way, and I think they made a lot of millions of dollars. Getting people feel threatened that ऐसा हो जाएगा तो तुम क्या करोगे? So our devotees are expert. They say whether 2012 happened or not, you chant Hare Krishna. Because if it is going to happen, better you chant Hare Krishna. And if it is not going to happen, that's all the more reason for you, because you have sufficient now grace of the Lord available to chant Hare Krishna. And in this way, Sampade vipade taha thakuk samabhave dine dine vruddhi hoka namera prabhave. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that whether I am situated in sampada or vipada, opulence or calamity, thakuk samabhave, may I remain equipoised. Dine dine vruddhi hoka namera prabhave. May my devotion to you, O Lord, increase day by day by the strength of my chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So that should be our prayer after reading this.
This was the conviction Prabhupada had when there was a bombing in 1945 peacefully.
Yes. Prabhupada is adding an interesting insight. Prabhupada was eating kachoris while the bombing Japanese airplanes were coming and bombing Calcutta. And he was nicely making kachoris for Krishna. And somebody said, Abhay Babu, run for a hideout. And Prabhupada says, no, this is Krishna coming in the form of death. We welcome. And he continued his kachori business. So that's a conviction of a devotee. I like that statement, the last one. There are many agents of the all-powerful Lord, and they will intervene. If the Lord doesn't want the creation to get annihilated, nobody can do it. There was an interesting sect, I don't know what their name was, it was in Christianity. They used to encash, or rather indoctrinate their followers on the basis of the theory that I think in year 1976 or somewhere, that the whole world is going to come to an end. And only those people who join their clan are going to go to heaven, and everyone else is going to go to hell permanently. And they made such a big propaganda, huge propaganda. And that year came and went and nothing happened to the human civilization. And overnight, the next day, the churches were empty. Because this kind of approach to religion is fear, desire, duty, love. So fear is the worst approach you can tell somebody. You have to practice this, otherwise you see what happens to you. So we sometimes tend to do that with children or with our neighbors or people whom we preach to, that they have to follow everything on the basis of fear. So what kind of inspiration is that in the heart? So we have to be careful. We have stories of fear creating things like Ajamila and the Yamadut Vishnudut Samvad. But even in that story, which is so strikingly fear creating for a materialist, there is the greatest hope given. That you chant the holy name and everything will be taken care of for you, no matter what was your background. And that was an interesting insight for Bhagavatam students. Text 33. Tata asadhyata rasa darunam gautami sutam babandha marshatam rakshaha pashum rashanayat yatha. Translation. So I told you, Bhagavatam calls Ashwatthama as पशु पशु रशनया यथा, जैसे किसी पशु को बांधते हैं रस्सी के द्वारा. So finally, Arjuna, what did he do? He employed his Brahmastra, and the combined glare of the two Brahmastras, which was so intolerable, all the living beings in various planetary systems started doing Hahakar, praying to the Supreme Lord. And Lord told Arjuna, now retract both of them. And Arjuna did that also. And then finally, now Ashwatthama became helpless in front of Arjuna. Arjuna grabbed him and bound him like an animal. So Babandha Amarsha Tamrakshaha. He bound him up with copper red eyes glowing with anger. Arjuna must be looking very beautiful. It was proper to treat him as an animal and not as a Brahmana. Very important. You see how in Vedic culture, what's this stuff? How in Vedic culture things are not stereotyped. If somebody is behaving like an animal, although he may be in the garb of even the greatest sannyasi or a saint, the way he is treated by those who are law wielders, dharmadanda, जिसके पास है. So Kshatriyas used to hold that, and they will make sure that nobody can make any mischief mongering in the society. Even when Indra, he took various forms of various types of sannyasis to steal away the horse meant for the Ashwamedha sacrifice in Maharaj Pruthu's time. And he was taking so many clandestine forms, this, that. And every time he was caught, he was about to be punished, but seeing his dress like a sannyasi, they would feel compassion and want to release him. But it is actually finally decided that he should be killed. After releasing Christ's time, it was decided that he will be killed. So this is how Vedic culture is. It is not based on position, or it is not based on some status quo that one can make a claim of being Brahmana, Kshatriya, whatever. It is only by their qualities and activities that they have decided to be so. So similarly, we when we become devotees should regularly contemplate upon how we are acting and what we are thinking in our heart. Our Nama, Rupa, Guna and Leela should match with each other. Nama is Bala Govinda Das, Rupa, form, and then qualities, 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. God knows when will it develop. And Leela, of course, in our context, activities. What are the activities that we do, especially when we are alone, when nobody is watching us? In our association with devotees, it's wonderful to act like a devotee, but especially when nobody is watching us. What are we doing with our life and our thoughts? So that is what makes us stand up to the stature of a devotee. And please note, Arjuna as an authority, a law establisher, has the right to get angry about the behavior of Ashwatthama. And his treatment may appear very harsh, but it is for the good of Ashwatthama. Shibiraya ninishantam Rajva badhva ripumbala Praharjunam prakupito Bhagavan ambuje kshanaha. Translation.
With
Interesting insight Prabhupada is giving in the purport. Both Arjuna and Krishna are described here in angry mood, but Arjuna's eyes were like red copper balls, where Krishna's eyes were like lotus. This means that the angry mood of Arjuna and that of the Lord are not on the same level. Lord is always situated in transcendence. Thus, he is absolute in any stage. His anger is not like the anger of a conditioned living being within the modes of nature. Because Lord is absolute, both his anger and pleasure are the same. His anger is not exhibited in three modes. It is only a sign of his bent of mind towards the cause of his devotee, because that is his transcendental nature. Therefore, even if Lord is angry, the object of anger is blessed. He is unchanged in all circumstances. Very, very Rasik purport to a warfield situation. So we can give many examples of this, that how our anger and the anger of transcendentally situated personalities is like black and white contrast. Srila Prabhupada would also get angry, and his anger sometimes was so fierce that nobody would dare stand in front of him. And at the next moment, when everything was settled conducively for serving Krishna properly, you will see Prabhupada in the most childlike mood, very innocent and happy. And this switch over was very interesting. In our case, once we get angry, it takes sometimes 10 days to cool down. Even if the other people try their best to pacify with whatever best they can, things are settled down, still, फिर भी उसने ऐसा किया ही क्यों? You know, people like generally, so that is our anger. मैनं पार्थार्हसि त्रातुं ब्रह्मबन्धुम् इमं जहि योऽसावनागसः सुप्ता अवधिं निशिपालकान्.
Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, you should show no mercy by releasing this relative of Brahmabandhu, for he is killed innocent boys in destiny."
So Krishna is adding firewood to the fuel, firewood to the fire, fuel to the fire. He is not like a aag laga. He is actually telling Arjuna how this kind of situation has to be dealt with for the act that Ashwatthama has performed. The word Brahma Bandhu is significant. We have studied that. Last 4 lines in the purport. Lord Shri Krishna, the supreme authority of all religious principles, the Vedas, has personally pointed out these differences, and he is about to explain the reason for this in the following shlokas. So there are verses that Lord explains why he is to be killed. Avadhi, Brahma Bandhum imam jahi. Kill this Brahma Bandhu. So the word used in this verse is anavagasaha, which anagasaha means faultless children who were resting, who were sleeping, were killed by Ashwatthama. So the Lord elaborates that point. Mattam pramattam unmattam suptam balam striyam jadam प्रपन्नं विरथं भीतं न रिपुं हन्ति धर्मवित्. Translation.
Does not kill an enemy who is careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot. Nor does he kill a boy, a woman, a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul.
Whoa, this is called culture. You remember earlier we had told the story of Prithviraj Chauhan and Ghori, how he was released 17 times by Prithviraj Chauhan because every time he surrendered. So this is the Vedic culture in terms of dealing with an enemy. So mattam means careless. Interesting contrast is in modern times warfare is conducted by strategically arranging a situation where enemy will be under these conditions. Exact ulta. We have to be careless, intoxicated, insane, unmatta, asleep, suptam, and bhitam, afraid, and viratham, devoid of his whatever is shelter. And balam, striyam, jadam, and prapannam, children, women, surrendered soul, and fools. Na ripum hanti dharmavit. Those who know dharma, they will never kill such people. Purport, 6th line, 5th line. Formerly, war was never declared by the whims of a selfish political leader. It was carried out on religious principles, free from all vices. And then Prabhupada's addition. Violence carried out on religious principles is far superior to so-called non-violence. I think I told that story earlier. Gandhiji was once asked, if there is a girl being molested, raped by an aggressor, and you happen to be like a father to her standing next to her, what would you do? Will you stop the aggressor by violence against him, or will you allow the crime to happen? And Gandhiji said that I will not commit violence against this person. And the man immediately replied that you, by your non-violence, are actually causing violence to the girl. What about that? So this is how the laws of dharma are very subtle. You cannot just, erratically, point blank, make a statement, oh, this is violence, that is non-violence. No, sometimes violence is non-violence and non-violence is violence. Svaprananyah parapranay prapushnyatya grunah kalaha tadvadhastasya hi shreyo yaddoshatyatyath puman. Translation.
Even an wretched person who may be existence at the cost of others, yet deserves to be killed for his own pleasure. Otherwise, he will go down by his own actions.
One who lives at the cost of others' lives deserves to be killed for his own well-being. Otherwise, he will go down by his own actions. Prabhupada, purport is very heavy. Stay tight. A life for life is just punishment for a person who cruelly and shamelessly lives at the cost of another's life. Political morality is to punish a person by a death sentence in order to save a cruel person from going to hell. That a murderer is condemned to a death sentence by the state is good for the culprit, because in his next life he will not have to suffer for his act of murder. Such a death sentence for the murderer is the lowest possible punishment offered to him. And it is said that the men who are punished by the king on the principle of life for life are purified of all their sins. Not just that one sin of murder, all their sins. So much so that they may be eligible for being promoted to the planets of heaven. You have to really read purports. Sometimes you slip out what Prabhupada is saying. According to Manu, the great author of civic codes and religious principles, even the killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer. Because animal food is never meant for the civilized man, whose prime duty is to prepare himself for going back to Godhead. He says that in the act of killing an animal, there is a regular conspiracy by the party of the sinners, and all of them are liable to be punished as murderers, exactly like a party of conspirators who kill a human being combinedly. And ye Manu ka quote as it is, italicized. He who gives permission, he who kills the animal, he who sells, he who cooks, he who administers the distribution, waiter or whatever, food store, and at last he who eats, are all murderers. And all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. So 6 types of people involved in meat eating. All of them are treated as murderers. No one can create a living being despite all advancement of material science, and therefore no one has the right to kill any living being by one's independent whims. अभी एनिमल ईटर्स को इतना धोने के बाद Prabhupada tones down. For the animal eaters, the scriptures have sanctioned restricted animal sacrifices only, and such sanctions are there just to restrict the opening of slaughterhouses, not to encourage animal killing. The procedure under which animal sacrifice is allowed in the scriptures is good, both for the animal and the animal eater. The animal is promoted to human life after being sacrificed at the altar, and animal eater is saved from the grossest type of sin. Prabhupada then tells us what happens when you have organized slaughterhouses. Eating meats supplied by organized slaughterhouses, which are ghastly places for breeding all kinds of material afflictions to society, country and people in general. What do you mean all kinds of material afflictions? What spreads out from the slaughterhouse?
Lack of
Violence,
lack
lack
of
of mercy. There is something called as the pain wave. There is a whole theory devised by scientists in modern times. This is not Bhagavatam now. Pain wave theory. Pain wave theory by scientists. It says that if there is a location where there is a slaughterhouse, the animal when it is being slaughtered, at that time it screams or shudders, sends out such terrible waves from his consciousness that it permeates the entire atmosphere around, and that area where the animal was slaughtered becomes prone to all kinds of epidemics, earthquakes, social unrest, ghastly forms of violence and social disturbances that can become prevalent in that location. So that is the pain wave theory. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. Eating meat supplied by organized slaughterhouses, which are ghastly places for breeding all kinds of material afflictions. Then Prabhupada goes further. The material world is itself a place always full of anxieties. By encouraging animal slaughter, the whole atmosphere becomes polluted more and more by war, pestilence, famine, and many other unwanted calamities. So, there is another theory, elsewhere it will come, that those who eat meat, they are forced to participate directly or indirectly in war-like situations where they are slaughtered wholesale by material nature. Interesting? Terrifyingly interesting. So you did mass scale slaughter. So material nature organizes a warfield on which material nature arranges mass scale slaughter of human civilization by each other. It's something like in the classroom, one child is disobedient, another child is disobedient. And the teacher calls the two of them in front of each other, tum uska kaan pakdo, tum uska kaan pakdo. Abhi, And in the process what happens, you cannot keep it in a balanced way, so they pull each other's ears this way, that way, and they get angry with each other. And they are actually torturing each other. In the process, the teacher is peacefully teaching. उनको जो झमेला चल रहा है तो चल ही रहा है, but that doesn't happen in any way in the activities of the teacher. Like this Maya works in this world. So she arranges those mischief mongers, whatever, America, Iraq, and whoever, China, India, this, that, whoever, put them together and cook them in the war field by slaughtering themselves against each other's interests. Two more verses and then we conclude. Pratishrutam cha bhavata Panchalyai shrunvato mama Aharishye shirastasya Yaste manini putraha. Translation.
I have personally heard you promise Draupadi that you will pray for the head of the pillar of the
So not only Lord is giving philosophical justifications why Ashwatthama has to be killed. He is reminding Arjuna of his own promise. I have heard you gave this promise to Draupadi that you will bring his head on which he will take her bath, standing on the head of Ashwatthama. Tadaso vadhyatam papa Atatayatma bandhuha Bhartuscha vipriyam vira Kritavan kulapamsanaha. Translation.
This man is an assassin and murderer of your own family members. Not only that, but he has also dissatisfied his master. He is got the burnt remnants of his family. Kill him immediately.
Burnt remnants of his family. गाली क्या देते हैं? Civilized गाली देते हैं भगवान. You understand? Civilized गाली. You have to call somebody ill names. That also has to be done in a very dignified manner. Not like you give what modern people do. So he's a burnt remnants of his dynasty. The son of Dronacharya is condemned here as the burnt remnants of his family. The good name of Dronacharya was very much respected. Although he joined enemy camp, Pandavas held him in respect. Arjuna saluted him before even beginning the fight. There was nothing wrong in that way. But the son of Dronacharya degraded himself by committing acts which are never done by the Dvijas or the twice born higher castes. So just write a question there. List the reasons why Ashwatthama deserves death sentence. So there are many reasons we talked till now. And then later on the scene will change when the whole story goes to Draupadi. She starts giving reasons why he should not be killed. Her own reasons. Then you will have to put this in the scale and weigh whose arguments are superior. And then what should be done in such a situation. So that becomes an evaluation question. In our life also, we will come across situations where we have to evaluate things on their own merit and make a judgment. ये करना है कि वो करना है. And for that one has to not only be dharmavit, knower of dharma, one has to be especially blessed by the Lord to make right judgment. So there are many adjectives used here. Why his Vadhyatam deserves to be killed. First is Papa, he is a sinner. Second is Atatai, he is assaulter. Atma Bandhuha, he has killed your own children. Bharatushcha Vipriyam, he has made his own master get displeased, Duryodhana. And Kula Pamsanaha, he is the burnt remnants of his family. In our Krishna consciousness, there are two ways to encourage ourselves. One way to encourage ourselves is to have high role models and draw from them constantly inspiration, guidance, facility to go on progressing in spiritual life. Another way to inspire ourselves in spiritual life is to learn from those who commit mistakes, blunders, or even sometimes when we commit mistakes and blunders. And that time you should really feel like this. I have become a Kula Pamsanaha. I have become a burnt remnant of my Guru Parampara. That I have failed to act properly in given situation. And that regret, remorse, repentance is another fuel for cultivating life of purity. So in either situation one should go on progressively making spiritual advancement. Any comments or questions? Samvartaka is a title given to that which causes destruction of universe. So it could be a cloud, which through rain it does, or it could be Samvartaka Agni. It is said that sometimes it is through fire that the universe is burnt up. So that's what Samvartaka fire.
How could Ashwatthama, who was born in a Brahmin family, such a step of doing such a nefarious activities? Because he was, he grabbed so many good things from his father and his family. How could he become such a bad person?
The question is, how could Ashwatthama become such a degraded person, although he was born in such a high family and received such good training? Usually, misuse of one's free will, when one becomes selfish, and bad association are two primary reasons why even a good person becomes bad. Selfishness and bad association. And in that he commits first mistakes and eventually offenses. So here Ashwatthama had both the problem. One, that he became selfish for victory at any cost. And secondly, he had enough bad association in his life. And he lost his Satsad Vivek Buddhi, conscience, what is to be done, what is not to be done. And because he sided with people who were offenders to the devotees of the Lord, the Kauravas, he was destined to be doomed. Just the detail varies how you get doomed, but you are destined to doom, having sided with such personalities. So this was just one cause how it happened.
How we said we have to, even in Krishna consciousness, coming to practice of among devotees, this another particularly knowing the other, we will become selfish.
We may cultivate wrong association.
So, that will relate to our own life in our day-to-day practice. How to be protected from these two these problems.
We have to recognize that our spiritual life is nothing but constant tuning and fine tuning and retuning and refine tuning all the time. And we should not get exasperated with this job. Like Tukaram Maharaj says, Ratrandina Amha Yuddhacha Prasanga. Day and night I am on a warfield. Antarbahya Jaga Ani Mana. Internally with my mind and externally with the materialistic civilization around. I am constantly struggling. So one who is aware like this and who has that sportive spirit, sportive spirit, even if you get like ऐसा हो सकता है कि हमारे जीवन भर में हम माया के साथ फुटबॉल खेल रहे हैं और एक भी गोल नहीं करते और माया 40 गोल करती है, 1000 गोल करती है. It's like 0-100. That's the balance. But it may happen that if you just continued no foul game and you remain there on the ground under the instruction of your whoever trainers and others watching you, then at the fag end of your life, Krishna will make you make 101, or he will make it on your behalf. And then you win the match against Maya and go back to spiritual world. So we should not become quickly exasperated like that. So constant refining of consciousness is what is needed to safeguard oneself from such a situation. So one has to constantly, as they say, recognize one's shortcomings, reveal them to Krishna, Guru, superiors, and take guidance. Then one should rectify them. Before that, one should repent. So first is recognize, then repent, then reveal, then rectify, and then reinstate. Reinstate means you make yourself secure enough that you don't commit that same mistake again. You can commit a new one. But this one nonsense that you did this time, you will not do it again. That is called reinstating. So that this, when we continue, then over a period of time we become... As long as this anartha nivritti is going on, we have this problem all the time. It is only when we go to the stage of nishtha that we start fighting spiritual life like a joyride. There are challenges of that level, but at least one gets secure enough in his faith, in his mood and mission in handling the problems. Till then we are not even sure of our faith also. Kya ho raha hai hamara? So we should continue. He was informed by Shiva for?
Kill all the any man in the Mangalas can dissolve deity sadness in front of him and God chose to kill the sword and all. It's Lord sometimes allows
Okay. Lord Krishna arranges to accelerate certain things by intervening in the lives of his devotees' enemies. Any other?
Could you talk about Gandhiji being non-violent? Because he had that, Gandhiji always wanted to be non-violent and he did not commit violence in that situation. But similarly, you see, even in the case of Pandavas, when Draupadi was being taken and that somehow all the seniors were there, they could have just broken the dharma of promise and maybe they wanted Krishna to come and show that they could have gone against.
Yeah. Well, the rest of the 4 Pandavas were okay with that, what you are saying. They wanted to do. But they are obedient to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, on one hand, we should see Yudhishthira Maharaj as a pure devotee who acts under the Lila Shakti of the Lord, and he restrains himself from intervening in that pastime. But on the other hand, we can also see that as Yudhishthira Maharaj as, what do you say, oversiding with whatever the policy of non-violence or dharma, because he was putting his understanding of, we have been lost in the gambling match, everything that we have now belongs to Kauravas, that kind of understanding. And even Draupadi questions that understanding. She says, was I lost before Yudhishthira lost himself? Or was I lost after I was waged, then Yudhishthira lost himself? So the answer was Yudhishthira lost himself. Now such a person has no right to wage another person. So she is also dharmavit. She knows dharma. She goes in great detail finding out who is the culprit and all that. But ultimately the whole pastime has to take place that way, because Lord Krishna knew that it would take this to happen to enrage the Pandavas to fight a war. Because that is their stature in terms of forgiveness, tolerance and all that. So you can see it from Lila Shakti point of view, that why things happen this way. Or you can see it from our point of view. What lessons are we to learn in our life from such an example? One obvious lesson is don't gamble. You can go to what extent?
Some aggression should have been shown by the Pandavas as
Yes,
well as
Pandavas did show their aggression. Bhima, Arjuna, every one of them, they took vows there itself. Although they were helpless to do anything, they took vows. Like when Dushasana touched the hair of Draupadi, Bhima took a vow, he stood up and said, I will rip off that arm of yours in the battlefield with which you touched the hair of Draupadi. And Duryodhana removed his...
why not in the assembly?
I understand this question from your Mataji point of view. But we are talking here in terms of the Leela that actually happened. The reason for that is Yudhishthira Maharaj was restraining himself, God knows for what reason. Either under Leela Shakti's control, or we can see from a Lokik vision that he made a mistake. In terms of overly controlling and overly being, so to say, truthful. So even over truthfulness can be dangerous. I'll give an example. If you speak truth and that makes a person go away from absolute truth, Krishna. So have you done justice to the person? You say, I am Satyavadi. वहाँ जो होना है होने दो. So we will restrain. We will not say that truth. We will say that truth in a way that is digestible to that person. We will not lie, but we will always say the truth in a way that is digestible to the person. That's what all religions have done. Even Christianity, Islam, everywhere. That's the central theme of their teachings. Tell truth that it meets zero resistance to follow.
But Yudhishthira
Wait a minute. We are not talking Yudhishthira Maharaj today. I'll go into this topic when it comes. If you have anything about Ashwatthama and yes.
This, you mentioned this point that this dharma or the laws are very subtle. So we see or I see that this power of discrimination, the principles of Vedas are clear, but their application needs to be dynamic based on the
True.
So how I see this in myself also, or for the coming generation, what should be done in order to make sure that the discrimination power is instilled, as well as handling people in different situations can be instilled.
How can we train our children to be loyal yet broad-minded? Loyal to the teachings and practice that we have in ISKCON, and yet broad-minded to deal with the world around and people and their practices in a respectful way.
And also to make the right choice.
And they themselves should keep on making right choices in their
Even
life.
for us, not just for
There are no shortcuts. The basic shortest cut you can take is to chant your 16 good rounds before you leave your home. Because ultimately, depending on our human power, whatever we may have as knowledge and this, that, we can never stand against the forces of Maya, the way she presents us choices of contradictory nature, where it's called dharma sankat. Ye karo to bhi gadbad hai, wo karo to bhi gadbad hai. So what to choose? So in that time, only the divine inspiration that will descend upon us from Paramatma in the heart will work as the right choice. So if you are very strongly connected to Krishna through sadhana, then in the moments of crucial choices, Lord will tell us, yahi hai right choice baby. तुमको ये करना है भगवान की सेवा में. So that is how it works. So that is one part of the story. We should try and strive on a daily basis to get strongly connected with the Lord in the heart through proper sadhana. We should honestly practice nirvyalik, nishkapat sadhana bhakti. No cutting corners, no false fronts, no show off. Just do what we are supposed to do very diligently. And the Lord in the heart is watching, He is pleased. The devotee of substance. So that is one major thing we can do, which is in our hand. The second thing we could do is to always have a strong connection with a mentor in whose discernment we have faith. That he is very much in touch with the Paramatma in the heart. So if we go and consult, then we get to know the choices that we are supposed to be making. So that is second one. We can train our children also like that. That they should always have some inspirational figure within spiritual life, whom they look up to. And especially in the situations of over sorrow or confusion or dejection, they should have somebody to go back and get it. Like Arjuna went to Krishna, sort of. And another thing we can try and work upon is to make a conduit of cultural transition for our children. Which means there is a Krishna culture and then there is a Kali Yuga culture. And the children have to go through the tunnel, in between. Either se udhar and udhar. They're in the school, there is something going on. They come home, there is something going on. They come in the temple, there's something going on. They're in peer association, something else is going on. So we have to build as many safety nets as possible in this scenario, where even if the child falls, he falls back in the safety net. For example, take for example of peers, where the child can go most off track. We should take proactive measures to create peership for our child that has got cultural continuity with our Krishna consciousness. A huge peership. ऐसा नहीं कि 2, 3, 1. The child has got 16 friends who are all Hare Krishna. And they are also dealing and striving with the outside world in an exemplary way. So this is what I mean by creating safety nets. And it is a job of 100 people. It is not the job of one person that it can do. So all of us should come together and create that type of situation. Otherwise what will happen? Our children will start looking up to role models in the outside world. वो बोलेगा अरे वो लोग ये यूज़ करते हैं, वो लोग ये करते हैं, मैं क्यों नहीं करता हूँ. लेकिन अगर इधर देखते हैं कि इतने सारे लोग हैं जो नहीं करते, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. So the child also develops that attitude. So what? Somebody comes and tells him, you don't use this WhatsApp? He says, no, I don't. Hey, you don't use WhatsApp. So what? You can ask the question very boldly. उससे क्या होने वाला है? So that confidence cannot come unless there are role models he can find in his peers, seniors, like that. Otherwise one will shaken up. Like our brahmacharis in the ashram, how do they manage to stay brahmacharis? Because there are safety nets. You can fall back somewhere. You can fall into your peer association, superiors, mentorship, like that. So you have to create that type of an environment where falling down, making mistakes is okay. Pick up yourself and walk again now. There is no over judgment and criticism and all that. And also where the practice of spiritual culture is a joyful experience. It is not a Holocaust experience, like fears of experience. घर में हो तो वॉर चल रहा है, बाहर हो तो 16 माला किया क्या? So what kind of joy is there? Ultimately, it boils down to parents becoming cheerful devotees. If they are happy, they are doing wonderful things, and they are relishing Krishna consciousness, everything else can be taken care of. The children actually learn a lot simply seeing that example. And after doing all this child still cannot practice spiritual life. He makes other choices. We should continue to respect them as human beings and Amsha of Krishna. Not get on their case that they are not becoming a devotee. तुमने मेरे इज्जत को कलंक लगाया, सारा डिवोटी समाज क्या सोचेगा मेरे बारे में? मैं इतना बड़ा काउंसलर बन के घूम रहा हूँ, मेरा बच्चा ही डिवोटी नहीं बन रहा. और भी हम लोग के हमारा पूरा बैकग्राउंड को लेकर आके उसके ऊपर थोपते हैं. Fine, you didn't want to make a choice. The child should know that these are very sweet people, no matter what. I think you asked a very important question, like all speaking. So we end here. Thank you all very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande.